All right, today we are cracking open the unofficial rulebook for one of Google Workspace's most powerful but sometimes tricky tools, Google Groups. They're awesome for newsletters, team announcements, all that stuff. But there are these hidden rules, these limits that can really trip you up if you're not careful. So let's dive in and figure them out together.
You know that feeling, right? You've spent forever crafting the perfect email. You hit send to your big group and then crickets. Just silence. It's so frustrating and you're left wondering, did my message just disappear into some digital black hole?
Well, chances are you've just bumped up against one of Google's invisible service limits. Now, these aren't bugs or anything like that. They're actually put there on purpose to protect the system. But here's the thing. If you don't even know they exist, they can totally stop your communication in its tracks. So let's get into these hidden rules. Think of this as your guide. You see, these limits aren't just random numbers. They're there to stop spam and keep the platform safe for everyone. The trick is, once you know the rules, you can work with them instead of constantly fighting against them. First up, mastering message limits. Honestly, this is the chapter where most people get into trouble. But before we get into the numbers, there's one really important term we have to define. And that key term is external recipient. This is so crucial. An external recipient is basically anyone with an email address that is not part of your company's Google Workspace account. We're talking clients, partners, newsletter subscribers, anyone on the outside. So let's just make it super clear. Internal folks, they're inside your digital house, part of your workspace. External folks, they're everyone else. And this distinction matters because Google treats these two groups completely differently. And pretty much all the tricky limits we're going to talk about apply to how you email and interact with external users. Okay, let's start with an easy one. The absolute maximum size for any single message, doesn't matter if it's coming into your group or going out, is 25 megabytes. That includes everything, the text, all the formatting, and of course, any attachments. So if you've got a massive presentation file, you're much better off just sharing a Google Drive link. Now, pay close attention, because this is one of the most critical limits. When you're emailing those external recipients from a single group, you have a cap. You can send to 5,000 of them every 10 minutes and a total of 50,000 in a single day. This is exactly why a huge newsletter blast might suddenly get throttled partway through. And believe it or not, these limits work the other way too. To fight spam, Google caps any single external sender at 1,800 emails per hour, and that's across all the groups in your entire account. So if you have a partner who gets a little too excited with their emails, Google's going to gently tap the brakes for them. So what if the shoe is on the other foot and you're the one posting to a group outside your own company? Well, you get to make up to 100 posts a day, no problem. After you hit that, Google's going to pop up a little CAPTCHA just to make sure you're a real person. Once you prove you're human, bam, your limit for the day jumps up to 500 total posts. Okay, you've got the messaging down. Now let's move on to Chapter 2, growing your groups. Let's talk about the rules for actually adding people and building out your community. Okay, this is a major pro tip, so listen up. The limits we're about to go over, they mostly apply when you're adding people through the normal Google Groups website. But if you're a Google Workspace administrator using the admin console, or maybe you're scripting with APIs, you often have way higher limits or sometimes totally different ones. The bottom line is, the tool you use to add people really matters. Here's a big one for anyone managing a community. A single user can only invite a maximum of 500 external members to any one group per day. So if you're trying to onboard a huge list of new clients, you're going to need to break that up and do it over a few days. So what can you do in just one sitting on the website? Well, you can add up to 200 total members at a time, which is pretty good. But there's a catch. Only a small fraction of those can be external members. You can usually add about 10 external people before Google might ask you to do one of those I'm not a robot checks. But hey, here's some fantastic news for a change. Are you worried you're going to hit a wall and run out of groups you can create? Don't be. Google lets a single user create an unlimited number of groups. So seriously, go wild. Make a group for every project, every team, every hobby. There's no limit. All right, let's get into our next chapter, membership math. This is where it can get a little more complex because it's all about how Google actually counts who's in a group, especially when you start nesting groups inside of other groups. To get this, you have to understand two simple ideas: direct versus indirect membership. A direct membership is easy. Someone added your email address right to the group. An indirect one is when a group you're already in, let's say the marketing team, gets added as a member to another group, like all company announcements. You automatically become an indirect member of that bigger group. And here is why that difference is so important. Any single person can be a direct member of about 3,000 groups. Now, that is a huge number for most of us, but in a really, really large company, it's a limit you could actually hit. But when you add in all those indirect memberships from nested groups, the total number you can belong to skyrockets to around 7,500. This just shows how powerful nesting groups can be. It's a fantastic way to manage everything at a massive scale, all while staying within Google's rules. Last but not least, let's talk about the fine print. These are the special conditions and pro tips you really need to know, especially if your Google Workspace account is pretty new. This right here is a key difference if you're on a new account or a trial. Your limits are way lower to start. To get the normal, standard limits, two things have to happen. First, you have to have paid at least $100 on your account, and second, 60 days have to pass after you hit that payment mark. Basically, new accounts have to earn the system's trust over time. So, after all that information, what are the top 3 rules you absolutely have to remember? Let's boil it down. Number 1, keep your individual messages under 25 megabytes. Number 2, don't even try to invite more than 500 external folks to a single group in one day. And number 3, remember that one person can be a direct member of about 3,000 groups. Keep those in your back pocket, and you'll avoid the most common headaches. So there you have it, the unofficial rulebook. But see, these aren't just restrictions, they're the boundaries of the playing field. Knowing that means you can build better, stronger communities and make absolutely sure your most important messages always get through. So the real question is, now that you know the rules, how are you going to use them?